to the Sportcat Show.
That's right, everybody. I'm here, large and in charge, Sportcat. I'm here with your daily Gazette today. I hope everybody's having a great day. We are live on Yerg's Radio, Rainbow Radio, and of course, Radio X in Australia, and Talk Radio X in Australia. Come over and join us on our YouTube channel because we have a great group there, a regular group of chat. You can come in and educate me, inform me, even harass me. Wendell's here. It's good to see Wendell again. Hello, Chris. Chris is here. Denise, I've missed you, girl. Come back and stay with me for a while. And Denise, keep me updated. I don't think we're going to see any smoke today, but keep me updated. And Brenda, I don't know what she's doing. She's hard waving a hand or something, but she is here, so we're glad to have Brenda. And of course, her show is called Beyond the Box. You can check it out. All right. Well, you know what? We were a little delayed because me and Ross were chatting. And I want to give you a heads up. Tomorrow, I may be a few minutes late because, well, Miss Ginger, and if you don't know who Miss Ginger is, that's my spoiled puppy dog. She is going to have a doggy daycare day. It's a mobile grooming thing. And they're going to be here at 12:30. So depending on how things go, hopefully she'll be just fine. And I think she will, but I may be a couple minutes late. So just bear with me. We got to take care of Miss Brenda. I'm seeing Brenda down there. Miss Ginger, because, well, she's a spoiled princess, you know. She is my little girl, so to speak. All right, well, let's start off with today in the National News Day. And what is today? Well, today is a lot of things. And let's start. It's Aces Day. Well, an ace is usually a golf thing, but I don't know what Aces Day is for wearing stretchy pants. We're going to check this out because I'm a fan of stretchy pants. And Aces Day takes place on the first Wednesday in May, and it's May 7th this year. That's correct. Today is 7 May, and twiddling the video game controller and punching air on TikTok videos is the maximum exercise most kids get these days. Project ACES, okay. All children exercise simultaneously day aims to change this. In the past few decades, there's been a stark rise in obesity. Hey, this guy too, in the past decade. Among children, young adults, how about old guys? And Ginger, by the way. To reverse this trend, people are coming up with unique ideas to instill healthy practices. All right, well, that's a great idea. So get out and do some exercise with your children. We could all use a little exercise. I know when I get back home, me and Miss Ginger are going to have to work a routine out so that... Oh, she's gonna, I think mom's give her too many cookies or something. So let's see. Yes, she is getting her hair did. Yes, she is, and she's gonna be a little princess. And well, they're gonna do a facial, and a blueberry foam facial, and then they're going to put balm on their nose, but she's going to get the other end treated too. So yeah, she may bite me. If you've ever had your dog to a groomer, you know what I'm talking about. I'll just leave it at that. It's Bladder Cancer Awareness Day. That is something that affects many people. Hey, it's the Great American Grump Out Day. It's an American tradition, apparently. Let's get your grumpy mood of the day off today. Celebrate the Great American Grump Out, the first Wednesday of May this year, coincidentally on Exercise Day. Okay. It takes place on May 7th. What sounds like a day to be grumpy is quite the opposite by kicking the grumpy mood out the window or the door. It's if yours is too big to fit through the window, you spend a day fully in happy vibes. Well, yesterday, peanut butter is full of protein, and it will also stain your shirt. I don't know what the hell they're talking about there. But at any rate, don't be a grump today. I was a grump yesterday. I'll be quite honest with you. I was in pain during the show. And all right. It's Love's Baby Soft Day. I'm going to imagine it's probably for a company called Love's Baby Soft. I assume. I don't know. National Anxiety Disorder Screening Day. We all suffer from that. National Avery Day. If you know an Avery, message them and tell them hello. National Barrier Awareness Day. Let's grab on this one since a few of my listeners are under this, or This helps them. National Barrier Awareness Day is an annual observance that takes place on May 7th to encourage people to break down obstacles responsible for preventing social integration of persons with disabilities. The day was initiated to dissolve stigmas, keeping people with disabilities advancing in education, social life, work, and other spheres of life. The holiday was initiated by President Ronald Reagan, who called upon fellow citizens to observe this day with programs and activities. Well, that's a good thing. All right. So there you go. We have a few of our listeners that would be beneficial for. So that's great. Let's see. National Cosmopolitan Day. You know, that's a crazy drink. When I was a bartender, I don't think I made one time. It's National Home Brew Day. I've tried that. It's not as easy as people think. National Interpreter Appreciation Day. National Packaging Design Day. National Paste Up Day. That's the glue sticks. Did you ever eat them in school? National Roast Leg of Lamb Day. I haven't had lamb in forever. National Skilled Trades Day. Occupational Safety and Health Professional Day. I guess paramedics would fall under that. School Nurse Day. Oh, all right. It's Jay Balvin's birthday. All right. Mr. Beast's birthday. Rico Nasty's birthday. And Sarah Busquets' birthday. And I don't know any of them, so maybe I should. We've talked about this before. I just don't know all these things. My chat's going crazy here. Hold on, let me see what's going on. Yes, Ginger's getting her hair did. She might bite me. Yes, she will. There's always a possibility. Just want to make it. Chris says want to make it public. Dr. Mark A. Grow today and always will. It stuck with you, didn't Chris? Wendell says, I just don't like anyone. Well, come on now. You gotta we gotta like Brenda and Andy. So now you got me wanting a gyro. That's right. That was what a good gyro is made of. I had forgot that. And Brenda says today she's a grump. Brenda, don't be grumpy. Be happy. Smile, be happy. I would play the song, but it would copyright me. All right, so it's National Tourism Day. Let's see. I'm looking here to see if there's anyone. National Bike to School Day. I used to bike to school. Did anybody else bike to school? And it was probably the best part of my day, except for the uphill going home. But other than that, Paste Up Day, Roast of Lamb Day. All right, so we've got them all covered. We've got all the national days covered. Let's see what happened on this day in history. We're going to go back way back around Brenda's time. 1429, the English siege of Orleans broken by Joan of Arc and the French army. 1867, Swedish chemist Alfred Nobel patents dynamite in England, the first of 3 patents he receives for explosive materials. But it was a Nobel Peace Prize, but he made dynamite? Okay, did not know that. 1912, Columbia University approves plans to award the Pulitzer Prize in several categories after establishment by Joe Pulitzer. Now, you know, Chris, if you have a day named after you, these guys, we got Pulitzers and we got, who's the other one? Nobel. Is that kind of pompous too? In 1915, the RMS Listania is sunk by German submarine off the coast of Ireland with 1,198 lives lost. In 1945, unconditional surrender of the German Third Reich to the Allies is signed by General Alfred Jold at Reims in northern France. 1952, the concept of the integrated circus, the basis of modern computers, is published by Geoffrey Doomer. And now look at us. We have AI. It does it for us. 1952. Oh, I just read that one. 2017, Emmanuel Macron wins the French presidential election, defeating Marine Le Pen. Today in film, 2017. Don't know what this movie is. Bahubali 2. The conclusion becomes the highest grossing Indian box film ever. All right. 1824. Ludwig van Beethoven's Ninth Choral Symphony, often regarded as his greatest work, premieres at the theater in Vienna. Today in sports, 1992, champion Puerto Rico jockey Angel Cordero Jr. retires after winning 7,057 thoroughbred horse races. Now, I'm just going to throw this out there. He had to have some serious back pain. I mean, serious back pain, all those horses. Let me go back to Brenda here. Checking the chat here. See, I try and keep up with the chat. So if you're listening, allowing me to tickle your ears, or you're listening on Spotify, you need to come over live and come over and check out our chat. It's always very, very hopping. There's always a lot of people in there, and they keep me on my toes. Brenda says, I walk 5 miles in the snow both ways. Well, yeah, I did ride my bike in the snow. And Chris says, I say some awful things, but even I can't say Brenda was around 1429. I am not mad. I don't have gray hair. You dye your hair. So Brenda says we are the same age. I'm just 26. So 1896, H.H. Holmes, he's a serial killer. He was hung in Philadelphia after conviction for the murder of Benjamin Peitzel. While he was executed for just one murder, he confessed to killing 27 people between 1891 and 1894, many of them in his Chicago murder castle. In his confession, he stated, I was born with the devil in me. I could not help the fact that I was a murderer, no more than a poet can help the inspiration to sing. It's funny, I tossed a story that I was going to cover today, that the guy said the devil made him do it. And we talked about that. 1919, Eva Perón, the first spouse of Argentina, is born. Okay. And 1960, Leonard Brezhnev becomes a general secretary of the USSR. Man, must have been a slow news day there. All right. So that's all we got. Well, everybody knows Mother's Day is coming up. And so I thought I would help us out a little bit. And I have found, this is on AOL, 23 of the funniest Mother's Day gifts on the internet. They found them, so we don't have to. This will probably be the one I click on to buy Mrs. Sportcat after we get done, and maybe my mom. The White Trash Cooking Cookbook, a hilarious and nostalgic gift for the mom who embraces comfort food and doesn't take herself too seriously. You think I'll get in trouble with that? That's by Ernest Matthew Mickler, and it's called the White Trash Cooking Cookbook. I'm sure it's available on YouTube. It's got high rankings, and this is the 25th anniversary edition. So that will probably be one I get. Or I'll probably get this for my mom. Always use protection oven mitts. It's adding a dash of cheeky humor to mom's kitchen because, well, safety first. Brenda says, oh my God. Brenda, we could get this one for you. A voice-controlled eye massager. It's the perfect excuse for mom to finally tell those kids to buzz off while she's getting an eye rub. Hey, while she's got those goggles on, you never know what could happen. No need to swear at mom. A hilarious adult coloring book. All right. And this one I find incredibly funny. And those of us that are just watching can see this. It's a turkey vase, and it brings a touch of unconventional charm to the traditional flower arrangement because, well, it's a turkey with the flowers stuffed in it. It's actually kind of cute. I like that. Shake your number 6 comes in at Shake Your Moods, mom's new best friend for handling dad paper tantrum notes. It's got a little section that says, right now I'm feeling a bit, and a bunch of things you can check. This may be due to, and there's a few things to check. And, oh, yeah, you write out your other grievances with dad. And then I'd appreciate it if you could. And there's a couple things to check there. And it's like a citation. It says, thank you for your attention to this matter. Chris says, as your friend, I don't see a positive outcome for you if you get the white trash cookbook. Well, it's better than this. You may, and this might be for my daughter's wedding gift because she loves the Golden Girls. So number 7 is a Golden Girls planter. She loves to plant. Let's mom combine the love of plants with her appreciation for the iconic sitcom. Okay, somebody have to help me out. I don't remember, but it's the lady who played the oldest lady. It's actually pretty cute. That I might get. I will get that for my daughter's wedding present. So she asked me to give her away again. I've given her away once. She came back. I don't think it's my responsibility to give her away again. We've been having this argument since she got engaged. Butts on Things puzzle. Well, if you like a puzzle, it's a puzzle that has things that have butts on them. So there's that. And how about this? Hey, mom, feeling salty, grab some emotional support fries. Well, it says that a review states, my husband and I have had a lot of stress lately, and we've been purchasing boxes of fries to eat away our stress, which isn't great for the waistline, but they're so good. As soon as I saw these fries, I knew I had to get them. Not only do they make us smile, but they are soft and calorie-free and perfect for the size and they look adorable on our couch. This one, I might get this for Miss Page. Felt Piggy finally provide a cute passive-aggressive way for mom to communicate the dishwasher status is okay. Oink if it's dirty. It's a little pig designed, I'm going to assume magnet. One inside is clean, the other side is dirty. Paige might like that one, my youngest daughter. And Brenda, this could be the gift for you. For mom's unwind time, the chill out eye mask is a winner. Yes, it's a googly-eyed eye mask, and apparently it helps with, I don't know. It's a cool compress. You can put them in hot water. I don't know. I'm going to leave it at that. So let's see. A bubble. Oh, did I miss one? No, that's just a picture of a possum. We'll skip that in case Bobby's watching. The bubble clay mask gives mom a spa. That's also a hilarious selfie opportunity. Self-care with a side of social media gold. And for the mom that has everything, the rubber chicken purse. All right. It is an actual, for the listeners who can't see this, it is an actual rubber chicken with handles and a zip on top of it. And number 14 is I wet my plants kitchen dish towel. Braces mom's love for gardening with a punny twist, guaranteed to get a chuckle. And mom's sure to remember your name and not call you by your sibling's name again, thanks to this little magical box. It's like an Altoids box. And it says memory mints for senior moments. Extra strong. And for the cat mom, it's the perfect gift. It's hand towels, and the little kittens hold on to the hand rack with their front paws. So that's kind of cute. That's kind of cute. I don't see a need for them, but okay. Mom's next pun, straight out of the cornfield. Amazing jokes. So apparently this is a little box of corn-shaped paper that has jokes on them. I don't get that one. If your mom likes to partake in alcoholic beverages and an occasional martini, it's always martini time, right? Olive cocktail stick earrings. She can show off her love for the happy hour with these delightfully quirky earrings. And you can cheer on mom with a great taste. All right. A floral vase lets mom display her bouquet of art, modern art. And it's once again a turkey, but it's waving with little plant arms. It's cute. All right. And then, this is a good one. This might be something for my mom. Sip on some attitude. Mamasaurus tumbler for the feisty mama. And it says, don't mess with Mamasaurus. You'll get your ass kicked. And thank mom for these jeans At least we're not ugly. It's a jewelry tray. So you buy your mom, you buy your mom a piece of jewelry and you put it in this box. And this is the one that I've encouraged my children to buy their mom. Hey, mom, favorite light up her day with a favorite child candle. And on the outside of the candle, it says, being your favorite child seemed like gift enough, but here's a candle. Sangria and glitter. I didn't know you could, well, I guess you can drink glitter. The drink arrived finally and was packaged so well. I tried some plain seltzer over ice, and oh my God, it's so good. Adding a little gin to mix along with the seltzer last night, and it was fantastic. It's glitter sangria, and it's sparkly. It's sparkly. All right, so I think what I'll do is I will share some every day for the next few days, so everybody gets some. Now this I like. A Lego botanical bamboo set. Yes, they can finally get some piece in pieces. It's surprisingly zen. All right, so I'll go over some more of these as we go on in the next couple days. But there we are. We're off to a funny start. So speaking of which, I was told never to buy anyone what are they called? The bonsai plants, because bonsai plants, if they die, that means the person that you gifted them to will also die. I don't know if that's true or not. So let's see. Let me catch up in the chat here. Brenda says she's already rubbing her eyes. Let's see. And he said that he advised me not to get the cookbook. Say, hey, welcome, Uncommon Soul. And let's see. Yes, I am asking for it. Sophia, Denise says her name is Sophia. That's right. Thank you, Denise. That mug looks like a female Harry Carey. Wendell says you need to get one with your face on it. They don't make them that ugly, Wendell. So, and this time tell them that there's no give backs and call it a day. I've told her she's like a boomerang. I don't know if any of you have children, but all of them are boomerangs. They eventually come back. Oh, and Chris does want to throw out some like and subscribe to see Harry Carey women people. Oh, mercy. Brenda is commenting to Denise. I don't know what that means. Welcome, KG. Welcome. We're glad you're here. And Brenda says her dog would eat them. I'm sure she's talking about the fries. Where do you find this? Temu? Most of them were actually Amazon, believe it or not. So Amanda said Temu should be renamed to $20 down the shitter. Yes, she did on the Monday night show. Amanda did say that. Good recollection of it. And then there's some guy over here on Kick encouraging me to pay him money, which I'm not going to do. And Wendell says he likes Temu. So people stop eating stuff that don't belong in your body. We're going to talk about that in a minute, Brenda. So stay tuned. So this come to us from one of our alert listeners from Stafford County, Virginia. Deputies with the Stafford County Sheriff's Office are looking for a man who they say returned to a business to claim a bag of cocaine, then ran off. So you want your cocaine, but you're going to run off. He ran off once he realized the authorities were being called. Officials say Deputy C.A. Osborne, no relation to Ozzy Osbourne, from the sheriff's office responded to the Mannheim Auto Auction on Auction Drive around 9:56 p.m. on Monday, after the staff found a small bag filled with what they believed to be a controlled substance. According to the sheriff's office, shortly after the discovery, a man showed up telling the staff that he had misplaced his bag of cocaine. Now, why didn't you say your salt or something like that? I misplaced my bag of salt. When he was informed that deputies were being notified, he fled. The sheriff's office said in a statement, the man is welcome to stop by the office and converse with Deputy Osborne about the incident. Investigation is ongoing. So there's a little tip. Don't lose your cocaine and try and pick it back up later. So funny story. We were changing Mrs. Sportcat's tires on an old Dodge Stratus. Actually, my kids were, I'll be honest about it. And they bring in this little tiny bag about the size of a quarter. and about the thickness of, I don't know, a quarter inch. And it was vacuum sealed of powder. And they're like, is there something we need to know, Dad? And I'm like, nope. Oh, so I kid Mrs. Sportcat that she hit her toot and the kids found it. So, but obviously it was thrown down because it was under the tire, and we bought the car new. It was under the tire, the spare tire. So obviously a factory worker threw that down in a hurry or misplaced it. So, but if the canine dog had hit on that, that would have been, I would have never let her off the hook about that. All right. So Brenda asked for, you got it. Major food companies are accelerating to the Make America Healthy Again changes to recipes. I know. I'm so disappointed my Mountain Dew is going to taste different. Major companies like PepsiCo and Tyson Food are accelerating changes to the American recipes to more align with the Make America Healthy agenda. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And also, by the way, breaking news as we came on, he has requested that he get Secret Service protection from a medical cartel. And I Googled medical cartel and could not find any news about that. So I will keep checking on that. So Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced last month that the Food and Drug Administration is working with companies to phase out petroleum-based food dyes by the end of 2026. And there's also some controversy about the wording of what they're doing and saying that they're basically just still going to be adding a dye, but it's going to be different. I'm not sure. That was breaking too as we came on. So that this is smoke and mirrors is what they were saying. I don't know that I believe that, but at any rate, they're banning numerous other color additives. The CEO of both PepsiCo and Tyson's Food have said they will be ahead of such changes on a rigorous schedule. Ramon Laguanta, the head of PepsiCo, said in a recent conference call that he wants his company to lead the way on ridding products of artificial food dyes. PepsiCo makes drinks like, obviously, Pepsi, my favorite, Mountain Dew. I'm going to mourn them. Gatorade, and owns Frito-Lay, which makes Doritos, Lay's, and Sun Chips, to name only a few. Specifically, brands like Lay's and Tostito will be rid of artificial colors by the end of 2025. That's not far away in the big scheme of things. A year ahead of Kennedy's planned phase out. We've been leading the transformation of the industry now for a long time on sodium reduction, sugar reduction, and better fats, said the CEO. All right. Well, he was on a press call with the Food Business News. When we talked about the U.S. food business, 60% of our portfolio today doesn't have any artificial dyes. So we are undergoing that transition, he added. For example, brands like Lay's will be out of artificial colors by the end of this year. And some, with the Tostitos of the big brands, are already well underway. He said that he stood by the safety of all PepsiCo products as they are now, but acknowledged that the shift to more natural ingredients is what consumers are asking for. Well, they might have noticed over half the country voted for it. In the next couple of years, all of PepsiCo products will have natural colors, or at least options for natural colors, so the consumer can choose. As long as they don't change the taste of a Mountain Dew, I don't care if it's clear. Our products are very safe and there's nothing to worry about. Then why are we changing them? And why do other governments not allow them? Anyhow, I digress. But we understand that there's probably going to be a consumer demand for more natural ingredients. And we're going to be accelerating that transition. He said, ideally, we can do this in a very pragmatic, orchestrated way as an industry and not create unnecessary panic. I'm already panicked about my Mountain Dew here. So but we'll lead that transition. And in the next couple of years, we'll have migrated all the portfolio into natural colors, or at least provide the consumer with natural color options, the CEO added. And every consumer will have the opportunity to choose what they prefer. So that is what this journey is we're undergoing. Donnie King, the CEO of Tyson Food, which makes a number of chicken products and food products, said the company will eliminate synthetic dyes from its products by the end of the month. How about you stop filling them full of steroids and antibiotics, too? That would be more important to me. Just 13 days after HHS and FDA announced plans to phase out the petroleum-based synthetic dyes from the nation's food supply, Tyson's Food today reported it will eliminate these dyes by the end of May. Secretary Kennedy celebrated all next. I look forward to seeing more companies follow suit and put the health of America first. Together, we will make America healthy again. Yes, we will. And let's see. Let me catch up on the chat and see what's going on over there. They tried to set you up. Well, a guy lost his bag of pot and went around asking for anybody find it. I don't think that was a good idea. No, it wasn't, Wendell. And Brenda says she already knows what he means. I'm not sure what that means. Chris says Secret Service protection doesn't have a great track record of protecting his family. Chris, I would look into other private security. Brenda agrees with him. Wendell does not like Pepsi. He's a Coke guy. Mountain Dew don't taste like it did back in the 70s. That's because the Mountain Dew is now got corn syrup in it. And I kind of wish they would get rid of corn syrup too. And I'm not sure what I got, Brenda, but I got something. So I got the prize. All right. We'll continue on with our news here. We're going to try and keep it lighthearted for just a bit because, well, there's some serious things going on in the world. And I'm not talking about the Pope. Major deep fake porn site is being shut down. The horror. The notorious AI-generated porn site Mr. Deepfakes has shut down after losing a key service provider, according to a message posted on its webpage. Now, I'm going to be honest, I didn't know this existed or I would have checked it out. A critical service provider has terminated our service permanently. Data loss has made it impossible to continue operation, a notice on the site's homepage read on Monday. We will not be relaunching any website claiming this is fake. This domain will eventually expire, and we are not responsible for its future use, the page said, adding that the message would be removed in about a week. The website was popular for allowing users to upload non-consensual, digitally altered, explicit sexual content, particularly of celebrities, though there were several instances of non-public figures' likenesses being abused as well. The motivations behind these deepfake videos included sexual gratification, as well as the degradation and humiliation of its targets, according to a 2024 study by researchers at Stanford University and the University of California, San Diego. As of November 2023, Mr. Deepfakes hosted 43,000 sexual deepfake videos. Wow. Depicting 3.8 thousand individuals. They have been watched more than 1.5 billion times. Wow, that's crazy. I thought there was already laws against this. Of these, 95.3% of the targets are celebrity women. The researchers also show that despite purportedly banning such content, there were hundreds of documented instances of private individuals being targeted and more than 1,000 video with violent scenes depicting rape and abuse. So I thought this was already outlawed. Federal regulators and other institutions have grappled with how to tamp down on this new frontier of disinformation. And right now, Texas is undergoing a controversy in the prepping world because they say if you make a political meme, they will come bust your door down and arrest you. So that's in the conspiracy theory prepping world that they're upset with Texas. Last week, the U.S. House of Representatives voted overwhelmingly to the Take It Down Act, which stands for Tools to Known Exploitation by Immobilizing Technological Deepfakes on Websites and Networks. Now, come on, I had AI make a picture of Bigfoot and the president in the Oval Office shaking hands just for fun. The act would establish strict penalties and fines for those who publish intimate visual depictions of people, both real and computer generated. So are we protecting AI from being violated? Is that the way I'm reading that? Of adults or minors without their consent or with harmful intent. It would also require websites that host such videos to establish a process for victims to have that content scrubbed in a timely manner. The bill passed the Senate earlier this year and has been sent to President Trump for his signature. All right. And I'm pretty sure he'll probably sign that, and he probably should. So, yeah, I thought that was already outlawed. So but what do I know? Let's see. Brenda was on one of those sites. Denise says, I liked Timo, but I heard they're going to stop selling in the U.S. because of tariffs. Well, I did read a headline today, Denise, that said the last ship from China has docked, and that there were already ships out to sea that were parked awaiting for the end of the tariff. Well, those parked ships have now been ordered to return to China and unload their cargo. So, because apparently, I guess the China government or the companies were paying for rent on those cargo ships. And, well, if it's not going to be sent off anytime soon, they're sending it back. So, Wendell says, not yet. He is still getting stuff. And there was also, I don't know if it was rumor, if it was real, but they were saying that they're posting, like, when you go to the grocery store, you'll get a breakdown on the taxes, a tariff note saying how much we're paying in tariff. So, all right, we're going to go off with this. This is an opinion piece, and this comes to us from the Daily Wire by Matt Walsh. All right, around 10 a.m. on Friday, a man named Rodney Hinton went to his lawyer's office in Ohio and watched body camera footage of his son's death. In particular, the footage showed Hinton's 18-year-old son, Ryan, emerging from a stolen vehicle while carrying a handgun. At one point, he dropped the gun, then picks it up. Soon afterwards, he was shot and killed by a police officer. None of these facts are in dispute. The video makes it all very clear. The reason the Hinton family was watching this footage in an attorney's office is that, of course, they were contemplating a lawsuit against the city for wrongful death. There was certainly what their attorneys were thinking about. In fact, even after viewing this footage, the family's lawyer, who incidentally works for the Cochran firm, hey, they represented me, as in the late Johnny Cochran, maintained they had a case. Here's what the family's lawyer said as a way of arguing that the police officers were somehow responsible in this scenario. Being in a stolen car, having a firearms were in Ohio, so you can open carry in Ohio. So that's not a death penalty. Admittingly, it's not quite as catchy as if the glove fits, you must acquit. But it's still a pretty remarkable line of argument from the Cochran firms, all things considered. After watching the footage of Ryan Hinton exiting a stolen video with a handgun, then dropping the handgun and picking it up as police chased him, and then turning towards the officers, the conclusion from these lawyers is that Ryan Hinton was murdered for simply open carrying a firearm, and he got the death penalty for doing nothing wrong whatsoever. Did I just not read he was in a stolen car? Okay. Even though his gun wasn't holstered, and even though he wasn't waving it around while committing a felony, and even though all of this is recorded, we're supposed to conclude that he was, quote, open carrying. This is a level of shamelessness that in another era would lead to a flurry of lawyer jokes on late night television, but it's not a joke to millions of people at the moment. It certainly wasn't a joke to Rodney Hinton, the father of the teenager who was killed. Just hours after he viewed the body camera footage of his son's death, Rodney Hinton got in his car with the intent of executing a police officer. He saw it as an act of revenge, and ultimately he found a target. He ran over a recently retired sheriff's deputy who was directing traffic outside the commencement ceremony at the University of Cincinnati. The slain officer, a Hamilton County deputy named Larry Henderson, had never met his killer before. They never exchanged words. Rodney Hinton knew that the police were justified in killing his son because he had just watched the body camera footage. He knew that the police did nothing wrong. If the father wanted revenge on anyone for causing his son's death, he should take revenge on himself. If your 18-year-old son is out with a gun stealing cars, it means you have failed as a father. Even a minimal amount of fatherly guidance would have been enough to avoid this situation. But instead of taking revenge on himself, Rodney Hinton decided to kill a police officer who was merely directing traffic. This should be an open and shut case in every sense. The father is a murderer. His revenge obviously cannot be defended legally. Any hope of defending it morally is destroyed by the fact that, for one thing, the shooting of Ryan Hinton was justified. And secondly, the cop that he murdered, had nothing to do with it. This is not a Gary Plush situation where a father ambushed and killed the man who kidnapped and molested his son. This is an act of premeditated, cold-blooded murder against a random white cop. And yet, stop me if you've heard this before, the murderer is not being lionized and defended on social media. The father who just executed a sheriff's deputy in order to avenge his criminal son who flashed a gun at cops is the latest celebrity in certain corners of social media. The viral clips defending the murderer are all over TikTok, and they show an example, which I will not show, refuse to show. He gets the age of the so-called, quote, kid wrong, as she's showing the sympathetic photos in the background. Ryan Hinton was 18, not 16, when he jumped out of the stolen vehicle. I believe 18 makes you an adult. He jumped out of a stolen car with a firearm, but the bigger issue with the video claims that the father took justice into his own hands by murdering a random police officer. Notice how there's no pretext here about how the officers did something wrong or violated procedure, any of that. There's no explanation of how it's, quote, justice to kill a random traffic cop or, quote, unalive, I guess I have to say that for YouTube, a traffic cop. As this guy puts it, it's just assumed that the killing a random white police officer is an appropriate response to the death of a black criminal, and millions of people find this reasoning persuasive at the moment. That is the situation we are now in. For the past half century or so, every aspect of American civic life has been devoted, or at least superficially, to preventing situations like this. If you spend trillions of dollars enacting a regime that rigidly enforces the seemingly laudable goal of racial equality, then surely eventually you'll arrive at a point where all men are judged basically on the content of their character. That is the grand experiment we've all been participating in for our entire lives, and with each passing day, it is becoming more and more clear that this experiment is crashing down all around us. We are heading very directly towards open and overt racial conflict. To that end, here's another video, which I'm not going to show, which has more than 20,000 likes on TikTok, and they muted the obvious because, well, anyhow, we'll leave that alone. It shows Rodney Hinton in court in a jumpsuit surrounded by a bunch of police officers. There's a caption that the uploader has added. They really tried to use over 30 deputies to intimidate Rodney Hinton, but he kept his head high. Again, this post has more than 20,000 likes. This is not some random troll that didn't get any attention. It's one of the most popular posts about his arrest, and people are responding to it because they genuinely believe that Hinton is a hero. There is no rational argument that he's innocent or that it was justified or that his son was innocent. This is pure racial resentment spilling out into the open. Another post with roughly 70,000 likes on the talk described Rodney Hinton as a mourning father, complete with somber music. And I'm not going to play that one either. All right, so it's on TikTok, it's on X, it's everywhere. And so they're saying that Rodney Hinton had no criminal record before he killed an Ohio cop in retaliation for the cops killing his son. The police department brought 30 cops to his hearing to intimidate him. So apparently, you get to kill a cop if you have no prior criminal record, and the police are not allowed to guard you either, even if you've just murdered someone. And then there's this post that echoes thousands of others. All I'm saying is this: if a cop killed my son, I'm airing out the precinct. Rodney Hinton Jr. is a saint and a hero. All right. So, and yesterday, I'm going to stop here, but yesterday we also did discuss the story of Shiloh Hendricks. If you recall, that is a racial incident as well. Now, I'm reading all of this. If you want to go see this article or opinion piece for yourself, I'm reading this directly from, let me scroll up here to the top so that we're all clear that I'm reading that the headline is, This man was just arrested for murdering a retired cop. Now he is being hailed as a hero. It's an opinion piece by Mark Walsh, W-A-L-S-H, dated yesterday. It came on after we were live, and you can view it on thedailywire.com. So I'm merely reading the article. You can form your own opinion, but I'm sure that this is going to incite people on both sides to be angry. Let me catch up on the chat here because let's see, I'm way behind on the chat. Let's see. All right, here. I burned it. I finally got it. Was Brenda on one of those sites? Denise says she likes team. Sorry, we said that. Denise, family, FFS. I need a piece. Just venting. And when she says peace, she is talking about PEACE. And Brenda says, go ahead, vent away. O for FFS. People need to stop hating because of color, is what Wendell says. Agreed. And Brenda says, I'm glad I stopped working when I did. I'm assuming she means as a police officer. Yeah. I'm glad that I stopped working when I did as a paramedic, because we were getting shot at, stabbed, physically abused. So, and it was by all colors. It was a one color. It was because we were a paramedic and we were late, was usually the problem. So, all right. So this comes to us from the USA Today, dated today, May 7th. It broke at 8:51 a.m. The headline is, Michelle Obama is in therapy after, quote, transitioning from really hard time in the White House. Michelle Obama is prioritizing her mental health. The former First Lady and her brother, and in my opinion, podcast co-star Craig Robinson, opened up about their therapy journeys during an appearance on Jay Shetty's On Purpose podcast. Ms. Obama explained that their parents created a safe space growing up that felt akin to therapy, and she sought fellowship with family members and girlfriends in the same way. I believe in the power of sharing your challenges with other people you trust that come in many forms, as it has for me, she told Shetty. I believe in couples therapy. I believe in it all, whatever works for you. Michelle Obama sought out therapy after the White House. Every choice that I'm making is completely mine. In terms of a formal therapy, she sought it out because I think we need to be coached throughout our lives, and I think therapy is a form of coaching. At this phase of my life, I'm in therapy right now because I'm transitioning, the becoming author said. I'm 60 years old. I finished a really hard thing in my life with my family intact. I'm an empty nester, she added. Now, for the first time, as I've said before, every choice that I'm making is completely mine now. I don't have the excuse of, well, my kids need this, or my husband needs that, or the country needs that. So how do I think about this next phase? Before she opened up about the internal work she is doing on herself, she shot down rumors that she is splitting with her husband, who is former President Barack Obama. That's been a rumor going around for a while. She shot that down. Says, if I was having problems with my husband, everyone would know about it, she said, telling Bartlett that her brother would know it too, and I would be problem solving in public, adding, I am not a martyr. So there she was shooting down the rumor, and she is saying that She is in therapy. Good for her. Therapy is actually good for most of us. So if you need therapy, go to therapy. I highly encourage it. Wendell says, no, Wendell, I'm not going to read that. I'm not going to read that comment, Wendell. You're on your own with that one. Okay, so this comes to us from Off the Press. SpaceX has cleared to increase Starship launches from Texas. Now, we routinely check out airspace, and I don't recall seeing any from Texas. So SpaceX Tuesday has received the keys to the U.S. regulatory approval to increase the annual rate of Starship rocket launches from Texas and booster, landings in various bodies of water, allowing Elon Musk company to significantly expand the development of its giant Mars rockets. The FAA is capping a year-long review since SpaceX's proposal to increase the number of Texas Starship launches from 5 to 25 will not have a major impact on the surrounding environment, nor would associated booster landings or potential rocket explosions over the Gulf of Mexico or international waters. That's coming to us from Off the Press. All right. And we'll talk about this. We're running my news piece a little long today. All right. So somehow we managed to lose another plane. I think some people need to be called to the Pentagon and talked to. A Super Hornet has crash landed on the USS Truman. It's the second F-18 loss in a week. The USS Harry S. Truman has been striking the Houthis with other FA-18s rolling off the deck during an attack on the ship last week. If you remember, last week, the ship made a hard turn and, well, the plane fell off with its tow. Details remain limited at this time, but CNN was reporting that another F-18 Super Hornet from the supercarrier Harry S. Truman has been lost. 2 U.S. officials have confirmed this is a military magazine, that the mishap did indeed occur. They state the jet crashed into the sea during its attempt to land. Both the pilot and the weapons systems officer were able to eject and were recovered by helicopter with only minor injuries. According to the news site, the MH-60 Seahawk Squadron made the rescue. The F-18 Super Hornet from the VFA-11 Red Rippers was lost. This is the second loss of a Super Hornet from the carrier, one of 2 operating in a region. The other loss occurred while the vessel was evading a Houthi attack, with the Super Hornet rolling off the deck and into the sea. Nobody was hurt in that incident, thankfully. A month and a half prior to this loss of the same deployment, the Truman suffered a collision at sea, resulted in a change in the ship's commanding officer. Not long before this mishap, another one of the carrier's Super Hornets was accidentally shot down by a U.S. Navy cruiser assigned to the Truman Strike Group. USS Harry S. Truman has been deeply involved in a months-long intensified air campaign against the Houthis in Yemen. Those hostilities have now come to an end, according to the White House, with an extremist faction was reached in a ceasefire agreement. I do want to make a comment on this. I did read last night that the Houthis public information officer, I don't understand how a terrorist organization has a public information officer, but says that they did not reach a deal with the United States, that they said they are still going to be targeting ships of from Israel. Separately, the Iran-backed Houthi rebel group took a shot at the Truman on Tuesday. 4 sources said the president announced a major apparent ceasefire with the group hours earlier. It is not clear whether the 2 are related. Now, my question is this. These guys are in John boats with Johnson motor boats attached to it with bolts, coming at our super carriers, and we haven't eliminated them yet. We're the world's greatest Navy. Well, we used to be before we stopped losing aircraft. I don't know. But also, ironically, just after announcing that we had a ceasefire with the Houthis, a terrorist group, India and Pakistan started slinging rockets and bullets at each other. So was that a coincidence, or are we just aiming it somewhere else? Because I've pointed out numerous times that the war machine needs somewhere to put its aggression so that they can make a profit. And that's pretty much historical when I say that. You can research it and do your own homework. All right, so this article comes to us from Zero Hedge. Not under command, a Maersk container ship is adrift. Here's all your Temu stuff, Wendell, off the U.S. East Coast after an engine room explosion. A 335.5 meter container ship has been adrift off the U.S. East Coast for more than a week with an engine room explosion. It's knocked out its propulsion system. The Maersk Sana, a container ship which was en route from Newark, a container ship en route from Newark, USA to Singapore, remains not under command in the Atlantic off of the Bermuda coast after an engine room explosion disabled her propulsion on 28 April. The ship tracking Marine X wrote, the vessel came to a halt at 13:35 Universal Coordinated Time and has been drifting ever since. Marine traffic data confirms no signs of resumed movement, and her remote mid-ocean position has delayed the arrival of salvage assistance. A tug has been dispatched from Mexico, according to reports, but with the Maersk Sana positioned in the middle of the ocean, response time has been stretched. According to the Maersk statement, a towage vessel is expected to make contact with the Sana this week at the time of the engine explosion, 8:45 TEU. I guess it's a time and coordinated time there, whatever. The vessel was built in 2004 and flagged in Singapore, was sailing Maersk Trans-Pacific TP11. Safety is paramount concern, and we will take the learnings from our investigation to avoid similar incidents in the future, according to the company. So your Temu stuff is floating aimlessly out to sea. All right. We'll hit another quick few things before everybody knows that India and Pakistan are slinging missiles back and forth. So, and Wendell says maybe the pilots need to go back to sea. If there's any picture of Biden in the last 10 years where it looks like he knows what planet he is on, it's how did Wendell wants to know, how did the pilots, where did it go? Maybe the pilots need to go back to school. How did the pirates climb away from a John boat onto a ship anyway? Well, apparently they have something like Batman where they launch grappling hooks and then climb up them. I don't know. So, all right, this comes to us from Defense News, and it is dated May 6th, 2025 at 4 p.m. Special operators want electronic attack and firepower for watercraft. Tampa, Florida, naval special operations officials have fielded a variety of new vessels in recent years, but are looking to add both electronic and kinetic firepower to some of those watercraft. From surface vessels to dive gear, undersea vessels, and dive shelters, officials with a Special Operations Command Program Executive Office Maritime laid out their needs on Tuesday at an annual global SOF, which is a Special Operations Force Week. 30 of the 31 combatant aircraft medium boats have fielded in recent years, and the next steps for the vessel are under the CCM MK2 program that will potentially see a suite of launched effects such as short-range rockets, electronic warfare added to the boats. Those launched effects follow under a program known as the Maritime Precision Engagement, basically adding a precise strike capability to the vessels. With those launchers, the CCM and its cousin, the Combatant Craft Heavy and Combatant Craft Assault, are all set to add forward-looking infrared devices for the entire fleet, basically FLIR. So the SOCOM program executive official, fielded 42 combatant craft assault vessels between 2014 and 2023, and they are working on adding these programs, apparently. Alongside the surface vessels is a team looking for unmanned options for both short endurance and long endurance missions. Those type of vehicles autonomously, in other words, they navigate themselves without a human in them. And so they're looking for those as well. They plan to put out a request for more information to the industry for smaller unmanned undersea vessels that can fit into a submarine lock-in and lock-out chamber. That vessel could accompany SEAL delivery vehicle MK-11, of which 10 have been ordered. The MK-11 upgrades from the legacy MK-8 improved software, navigation, increased range, and increased cargo capacity, according to a commander, head of the undersea portfolio. The maritime team is looking to replace the dry deck shelter, 5 of which are in operation and have been in operations for decades. The dry deck next project kicked off in 2024 and is expected to span 5 years, looking at various ways to improve on the older shelter. So basically, if you want to get the crux of this, they're looking to get new toys for the SEALs and probably Delta Force and the Marines and all of them. Speaking of the Marines are getting a new sea glider. Yes, a sea glider. It aims to deliver small groups of Marines low over the waves. And if you look at the vessel that they're looking at, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 12 propellers, aviation propellers, and then it has pontoons on each side of the wing so that it can float. As Marines prepare for future flights in the Pacific, they are investigating the use of the sea glider to quickly and quietly deliver troops and cargo and provide other critical functions. Under development by the Rhode Island-based Regent Company, the craft will be powered by 12 electric motors and runs on batteries. It is designed to carry 12 passengers, 3,500 pounds of cargo, all while swiftly skimming the surface of the ocean, allowing it to avoid enemy sensors. It would use hydrofoil to get airborne and then can cruise efficiently in ground effect over the water. Since it will operate without the need for a runway, it will be able to access remote locales with little infrastructure. We are primarily looking at it for our contested logistics. So if they're saying they need it, they probably already have it. And for anybody that lives in Maryland, you probably know the runway I'm talking about that goes straight into the ocean. I would imagine they've been testing this vessel there already, and they probably just need to put a little camouflage on it, and it will, well, there, it looks like they've got one that's blacked out, and they'll get one out at sea. So that's an interesting concept, a sea glider that is electric powered. So I'm sure that the military probably already has one. No one has a knife on the ship. Windows, Glen, go back down so Jack can see that. You talking about, which one are you talking about, Brenda? I can send you the link to the article if you'd like, Brenda. All right. So this comes to us from, let me make it TWC, which is it's military. It's a military magazine called TWC, Tango Whiskey Zulu. Okay, we'll get we'll cover this one real quick. And I'll tell you why I'm going to cover this one real quick. U.S. intelligence agencies are ordered to target Greenland as takeover plotting intensifies. In the latest indicator of President Trump's determination to close America's biggest ever land acquisition by whatever means necessary, U.S. intelligence agencies have been directed to step up their information to gather information about Greenland, Denmark, and their internal political dynamics, according to two people familiar, that's in quote, familiar with the effort, who leaked this to the Wall Street Journal. Well, obviously, they're not good at keeping secrets. Director of the National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, lashed out at the leaks. The Wall Street Journal should be ashamed of itself, aiding deep state actors who seek to undermine the president by politicizing leaks, classified information. They're breaking the law and undermining our nation's security and democracy, opting against a similar fire-breathing Security Council spokesman, James Hewitt. He was rather restrained. The president was very clear that the U.S. is concerned about the security of Greenland and the Arctic. According to the Journal, this directive came out last week as a collective emphasis messages, and we can check out aircraft and see what we got. But I would like to point out that yesterday, somewhere in Greenland, I love the picture of American spies in Greenland dressed in polar bear suits. Somewhere in Greenland, a cyber attack was unleashed on the United States that did actually cause some concern. So I'm going to skip these articles and we'll get straight to what we normally do. If you want to check them out, an Army combat medic fought off an active shooter and rendered first aid. He is getting an award. You can read that on Task and Purpose. And in Zero Hedge has a video of Trinidad gangsters attacking NYPD officers for no reason, basically what we're talking about. We said that Trump said that he is going to stop the bombing on the Houthis. And, well, we know Pakistan is slinging rockets back and forth with India. So, yeah, there you go. And in Israel is fully bombing and disabling Houthi terrorist bases. And then also, if you're really curious about a crazy article, the BBC has an article about the end of life on Earth. It's when our planet runs out of oxygen, and apparently scientists have worked out when that's going to be. So if you want to read all those articles, you can go check them out. Let's get into what we do daily here. I'm running over time here a little teeny tiny bit. Where is it? It's right here. For those of you new to the channel, we do something that's kind of the anti-prepper show. We do something where basically we don't state why we died today. There's plenty of reasons for that. We state reasons why we didn't die today. And we do a little thing called the Daily Operations Briefing. This is brought to us by FEMA. This one is dated Wednesday, 7 May 2025, and was presented to the president at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. Now, mind you, this is not the same document because, well, they get secret squirrel stuff and we don't. So if you want to send a secret squirrel stuff, I mean, that may actually be illegal, but I would read it. So Wendell says, you mean when plants quit making oxygen? I don't think it's actually, I think that's their way of breathing, Wendell. All right. So national current operations and monitoring. There are no significant events or operations that they are ongoingly watching. There are no new declaration activity. There is no new declaration activity, meaning there's no new emergency requests or anything bad. Hazards they are watching: excessive rainfall and flash flooding from the southern plains to the southeast, severe weather in the southern plains to the lower Mississippi Valley, and they are not monitoring any new significant events. Now, as for the national weather forecast, we'll cover this again here in a second. But once again, Colorado, I got pictures from my friend that Yankee dander is still falling in the higher elevations of the Colorado Rockies, and Utah and New Mexico as well. So you can expect rain and thunder showers from Arizona all the way up into the Northeast and Maine. And then there's a little low pressure that's kind of located over Washington, D.C. region. That's going to keep them a little bit on the dry side. And you can anticipate heavy thunderstorms, the Gulf of America, inland from the Texas border, all the way over to Pensacola, Florida, in the Panhandle, with it possibly being more to the extreme in lower Alabama, Mississippi, and, of course, the Pensacola region. It will be heavy rainfall, once again, the coastline for Texas. And there is a slight chance, a very slight chance, from Tennessee down into the Carolinas, part of the northeast Georgia, northeast Alabama area. Just picture a little circle there. there is a slight chance of tornadic activity. That is today. Tomorrow, the storm is still going to have just a bit of energy, but it's going to be more down in lower Alabama along the coastline, Mississippi, Alabama, and probably over to Pensacola. And just slightly inland is where it's going to keep its energy. And the rain can pretty much be still consistent, spotty from Arizona up to Maine, including at that time Washington, D.C. region, which at that time will have the potential for some possible, in the Northeast Atlantic region, slight chance of tornadic activity. And I actually only mention that because, well, I called the one in Florida as a slight chance, and they actually had them. Friday, that storm is still going to have a little bit of power down in the Gulf of America, but it's mainly going to be affecting the coastline area of lower Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, partially Mississippi, but not so much, or not even really Louisiana. The most extensive rainfall, this has moved to the northeast, so Texas is not going to get the most of it. Louisiana, Mississippi, and lower Alabama will be the ones hammered today. And in the Panhandle, you can expect all the way over probably to Panama City, not Pensacola, heavy rainfall. So over the next couple days, the hazards they're concerned about, they're always concerned about in the dry weather, hazardous heat causing fires, and then heavy rain pretty much coming down straight down the Mississippi River back over to the Atlantic region. There's nothing new to report on space weather, but there is a slight chance, they're calling it R1, R2, for radio blackouts. And the current solar cycle is predicted to peak between now and mid-2025, but significant activity is still possible well after the peak. And they're saying that the Sunset Drive fire in Brunswick is only 15% contained. This is the newest fire and has burned 1,331 acres. And if we look at the FEMA operating map, it's actually getting better. They're actually doing some things in stopping activities in certain regions, but they're still working on repopulation in Kentucky, in the Carolinas, and they're still working down into Alabama. So, the other areas are just as needed, with EMA centers operating in the yellow zones. All right, so let's go to our next thing. Our next thing is always interesting because this is talking about the DEFCON level. You can see this at defconlevel.com if you'd like to read it for yourself. But the news flash for 5/7/2025, the current geopolitical climate is very active. At that point in time, we continue to carry out 24/7 bombings on the Houthis in Yemen. The political climate, they recognize that it's their mission to update neutral and factual information. It's funny that they haven't upgraded this even more since the incident in Pakistan, and of course Israel engaging. They did. It was overnight. A missile attack being reported against Pakistan, multiple explosions, according to the Indian Army. The country carried out precision strikes against terrorist encampments in Pakistan. The Indian government stated our actions were focused, deliberate, and non-escalatory. And Islamabad and Lahore airport airspace was closed by the Pakistan Civil Aviation Authority. Heavy shelling between India and Pakistan in the Kashmir front line in several areas. And in Israel, airstrikes at the Sana'a airport caused evacuations warnings in Yemen as the Israel military reported a complete shutdown of the airport after the strikes, and also reported striking several power stations. That was overnight. So there is your DEFCON level. And let's see. Yes, Wendell, the weather has been crazy this year, but it's because of the way the jet stream is changing. All right, for our next thing, we will go look at the Commander-in-Chief and see what he is doing today. Well, 9 a.m. was the time for the press to be in the office. At 11 a.m., the president received his intelligence briefing. He gets it before us. At 12:30, the president participated in a swearing-in ceremony for the ambassador to the People's Republic of China. That's closed to the press. At 1 o'clock, 1300, he has lunch with the vice president in the private dining area with no press. 1 p.m., the press briefing by White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt in the James S. Brady briefing room, and that is open to the pool press. So that is the daily schedule. All right, we'll take a real quick look here at the National Weather Service forecast because, well, it has changed slightly, not that much. That in chance of increased trouble for tornadic activity, albeit slight, is changed from Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, probably Pensacola. That area is still slight in the heavy rain. That low is still sitting there over the DC region. Tomorrow, it's showing that chance of bad weather is going to be over me, where high pressure will be in the middle Tennessee Valley back into the Carolinas, and there will be a chance of tornadic activity with that as well. And you can anticipate the energy down in Louisiana and Mississippi to generate a possible tornado. It's slight, but still possible. And we talked about in the DC region where there was a slight chance for tornadic activity. That's going to move up on Thursday to the coast a little bit, to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York border, maybe extending a little bit over to the coastline in Maine. But that is the forecast for the moment. That could change, of course. And let's go to day 3. And we see that, well, pretty much from Maine down the 95 corridor to Florida and back over to Texas is chance for spotty rains. And although there is still some energy associated with this storm, it's going to be lessened. But Mississippi and Alabama coastlines can anticipate heavy rains, thunderstorms, and potentially tornadic activity. All right, so we'll just take a real quick look at the maps. These were all updated prior to coming on press. And the first one in the top left is where they're predicting most of the rain for today. They're calling it in Oklahoma, whereas the other, the Weather Channel, or not the Weather Channel, the National Weather Service called it for lower Louisiana to have the most rainfall. And then wind, they're saying most of the wind activity will be primarily in Arkansas and Oklahoma, but the coastline pretty much from Texas over to the Golden Coast, or the Golden, it is called the Golden Coast. It's in the panhandle of Florida. So the wind activity could be elevated, as well as off of the east coast of Georgia and Florida. And now the hail forecast, they did call for some hail in these storms, and that's going to be pretty much all of Oklahoma, central to the coastline of Texas, back down over to Louisiana and the Gulf, and just a very slight chance on the east coast of Georgia and Florida. And so they're predicting this. They're using the NOAA tornadic outlook, and they're saying lower Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida is where the chances are the highest for any tornadic activity for the next 24 hours. And then the wind outlook, it's going to be windy in the Gulf of America pretty much no matter where you are, but it's going to extend inland a little bit due to those storms. And then the hail outlook, well, it looks like Texas and Oklahoma will stand the highest, even though it is slight risk of hail activity. So that is according to the NATOcast and National Weather Service. Two different ones, but they put them together to show you the comparison. Let's take a look currently on Zoom Earth, and we're looking at Australia. It's semi-cloudy, but it's going to be a breezy day. The radar is showing currently that over in Cairns, down off the coastline of Melbourne, there is a little bit of precipitation, maybe over central Queensland. It's going to be dry and cool in the center of the continent, in the country. And over in Canvaroon, is it Canvaroon or Carnvaroon? I need to get new glasses. Carnvaroon, maybe a little offshore rain. Let's look at the anticipated precipitation. Just maybe in the far northern tip, you might get a little bit of precipitation, but otherwise it looks to be kind of just a windy, cloud-free day. Now, they did say down in Tasmania that there is a slight for snow, what we call the Yankee Dander here in the South. Currently, on the West Coast, it is 77 Broome and 62 in Perth. It's cooler there. Darwin 76, Alice Springs 59, Adelaide is 48. We're using Fahrenheit. Melbourne is 50, Sydney is 63, Brisbane 58, and we get up to Cairns and it is 74. Let's zoom out and go up to the states of America and see what the current temperatures are. Right now, we'll start off with Columbus, 69, Washington, D.C., 73, New York, 72, up in Vermont, in Burlington, it is about 57, Boston, 68, going down the coastline, Jacksonville and Tampa, you win today for the highest temperatures, Houston, 85, down in Miami, down in Miami, if we zoom in, it's already in the 90s, so correct me, I stand corrected. West Palm Beach is showing that there's areas that are in the 90s, and down in the Keys is in the 80s, so it is getting warm in Florida. My son is actually en route to Miami right now. Memphis, 71. Here in Knoxville, it's probably about 62. Let's go up to Chicago, 63. St. Louis, 71. Louisville for Amanda is 70. Back over into the central United States, Mississippi. Minneapolis, 69. Sioux Falls, 74. Omaha, 72. Kansas, 65. Drop down to New Orleans at 75. Over in Houston, it's warm, but not as warm as Florida. It's 85. Amarillo, 58. Albuquerque, 56. Denver, 47. Remember the higher elevations, they're getting that Yankee Dander, that snow. Phoenix, 72. Over on the West Coast, Seattle is, zoom back out here, 56. Yakima, 70. And down in Portland, getting into the Grants Pass region, is 65, 69 in Bend, Eugene, 66. Crescent City, you're looking at 50 degrees dropping down the coast. In San Francisco, a nice cool day in the 60s. And down in LA, it's in the 70s. All right, let's look at the current radar for the United States. Well, we see that the center of the country, Kansas City, back over into, what is that? Garden City, Wichita, Kansas. That area is where the most precipitation is, in the center of the country. We look at that little front, it's not little, the front down in the Gulf of America, and currently New Orleans is getting the most precipitation, with it moving north-northeast and hitting Mobile. We see that the Georgia coastline is currently having some storms, and those storms are extending inland up through the Carolinas, up into Charlotte, and then back over on the far side of the Appalachia, spotty showers in Knoxville, and then further in the northeast, Johnson City, some rainfall there. That is currently the precipitation outlook is showing that Louisiana, New Orleans, that area will get the most rain. Inland, just into the southwest of Huntsville, you can anticipate some rain. And they're saying here in Knoxville, we may get a little bit of rain. We looked at the temperature already. Let's jump out of this one and go over and let's see what kind of warnings we're getting. Let's see. Brenda says, Wendell, don't listen to YouTube. Okay. All right. Well, you should listen to me. Let's see. I have a 2-minute delay between my phone and TV. Well, that's crazy. Chris says, sorry, I'm back. I had unexpected visitors at my door. I need to amend my previous statement. Our government has performed admirably in protecting the entire Kennedy for decades. Well, who are those visitors, Chris? Brenda says, I have to take my shot. Be right back. Is she talking about a shot of Jack Daniels or something for her chronic malaise? And Chris says, Florida has cities shown on this map. Didn't know they had any. All right, we're looking at weather warning here. Goodness, we're running close on time here. We will skim through this real quick. Puerto Rico, well, you're getting flooded. Andy in Montgomery County, Maryland, has his afternoon text where they test the emergency broadcast system, and it's still working. And it is foggy over in Ohio. And in Colorado, well, shocker, shocker, winter weather advisory, and even a winter storm warning in the higher elevations. Wisconsin has a frost advisory. And, well, all right there. And on the Great Lakes, they have some small craft advisories. Guam has a red flag warning. I'm assuming that's probably due to heat. And let's see, the flood warnings will move to the northeast into New York. Louisiana, yes. Mississippi, yes. Heavy flood warnings for you guys and gals. And, well, Arkansas and Louisiana jump in there as well. Let's see, that's it. Luckily, there are no, Arizona has an air quality alert, which we'll check out here in a bit. In Alaska, they have a hydrologic outlook. All right. We looked at that yesterday, and I think that was because of the rainfall, if I was correct, in Alaska. Or no. That was the shifting ice on the lakes. That was a hydrologic outlook. So that is our current weather warnings. Not showing anything too severe on the weather warnings. Let's go look and see what it looks like in real time on a map. And we'll see, as we talked about, those storms are, well, it's to the south of Topeka, and pretty much it's got a little bit of activity, but it's not a very strong storm. It's basically going from the north to the east in its usual manner. In the Midwest, it's some thunderstorms, but not as strong as we've had in the past couple of days. Now we get down into New Orleans, and if you're working out in the Gulf of America on an oil rig, well, you're having a very windy, stormy day out there, and New Orleans is going to take the brunt of it with heavy storms today, and that will slowly move to the northeast. We did talk about storms on the Atlantic side. Georgia is currently getting hammered on their coastline with a pretty strong cell that is going to be moving out to sea. That is the one they said could, very slight chance, cause a little bit of tornadic activity. Hopefully it will be water spouts out to sea. And let's go over here and look just for giggles, and let's see if it's snowing in Colorado. Yes, there is some blue stuff of that Yankee dander in the higher elevations. Oh my, I can't believe we're still talking about snow. All right. So there we go. We've looked at that. Nothing too severe up in the northeast, just to the southeast of Montclair, the capital of Vermont. It is a heavy storm up there moving over into New Hampshire. So it's got some activity to it. And then further to the northeast, there's that Yankee dander up in Canada. So let's check and see what the electrical activity on these storms is, because that's the most important thing to note. We see we missed one over in Arizona, a small little cell just southeast of Flagstaff, northeast of Phoenix. We missed that one on the radar. And we look over in Denver. Well, they might be having some thunder snow, Fort Collins, Loveland, Greeley area. And Kansas, your cell doesn't look to have too much electrical activity, maybe a little around Topeka. Yeah, some down here just to the northwest of Springfield, but it's not as active as the one we're going to look at down in New Orleans. And most of the electrical activity, luckily, unless you're on an oil rig right now, is offshore. Much of the electrical activity is currently out to sea, but that does not mean that there is not that chance. We go over to the Atlantic side. We see in Gainesville's got a little storm cell over it right now, maybe down as far as into Ocala is where the most recent lightning strike was. And then we look over here, Brunswick, Georgia, all the way up to Savannah. But that storm is trying to get offshore, so most of that electrical activity is offshore and moving to the northeast, and it'll probably affect this little tiny island out here in Bermuda within the next 48 hours. Let's zoom down to Australia and see if they have any activity that's storm wise. And well, we don't see anything necessarily on the continent, but out to sea to the south southwest, we see that line of storms is still pushing its way. Now, that for them will be moving to the west. So the most recent activity comes to us off the coast of New Zealand, but we look over in Tasmania where you were expecting some snow. You may get some electrical activity tomorrow, so keep an eye on that. I advise everybody to have a weather radio with two sources of power. I recommend battery power or rechargeable, and one that will plug into the wall so that you have two methods of being notified, because Dixie Alley is going to heat up very soon, and so will Tornado Alley. So be weather aware. We're currently looking at Louisiana has 23,273 people without power. Mississippi, 10,559. California, 7,307. Pennsylvania, you're still recovering from those storms last week, but you're down to 6,525. And Texas as well, you're looking at 6,295 people without power. And that is probably from the remnants of the storm that passed through. And by the way, anybody that remembers, a tree fell on the side of my house, but luckily there's not much damage. The cable will be reinstalled, or well, the internet will be reinstalled hopefully today so that my grandson can get his kicks back in. So don't ask. I don't know. So let's see. We talked about code red, and it looks like, yes, Reno does have a code red, and I'm going to say it's probably because of smoke and dust with the heat. And it'll probably jump down to Carson City. And I did see down here in Texas another code red day. Oh, my favorite little city, Brownsville. Code red, code orange for today. Code yellow, pretty much from Tallahassee to the northeast, extending up to the Chesapeake Bay. Orlando up to Tallahassee, anticipate some code yellow air as well. Atlanta, you're always code yellow. From Birmingham down to Montgomery, back over to Jackson, there's some code yellow. Up in Chicago, the Great Lakes up there, it looks like there's some code yellow areas for pretty much Chicago to the west and to the north in Madison. Well, you might as well just say Des Moines because of the way it'll connect later today. And that'll actually extend all the way up into the Dakotas and Montana before the end of the day. St. Louis, yes, you're a code yellow kind of day. Columbus, we can't forget about you. You are also code yellow. And Jefferson City is good, but St. Louis is code yellow. That is your air quality map. This is available at airnow.gov. You can go check it out. It changes. I'm going to bring up the other one that, well, I don't necessarily agree with, but I show it because, well, what the hell? It is the Weather Channel's allergy map. I don't agree with it, but I'll go with it. Tree pollen for today, it's showing pretty much the worst part is going to be in the Midwest to the Ohio Valley, maybe slightly back up to the Great Lakes, but not much. It'll be code orange more up that way. It's showing a code orange will be ending Southwest Virginia, Kentucky, and then back across to the Midwest. With, if you could zoom in on this, and I can't, if you notice there, it's code green for most of Tennessee, and you see on the east side of the Appalachia, code yellow to code red, depending on your area. But if you zoom in on Tennessee, there's a little teeny tiny section that you can't really make out in this map, and it is code yellow. That is the Tennessee Valley, the valley that I'm in. We are between two mountains, and that section of East Tennessee sits in a valley, so it gets the worst of the worst where it just sits over it. Grass pollen, that's a thing. It's code orange for most of the lower 48. Code red, no thank you. Code red for the deep south, extending over to the Atlantic Ocean, Southwest Virginia to Chesapeake Bay. And that is going to be intensifying because of the grass. And we can see that Texas now has a pretty much code red for grass pollen. All right. And how does this make us feel? Where is my how does it make us feel map? Well, our aches and pains and how does it make us feel? Apparently, in the deep south, the central Ohio Valley, back over to the short Midwest. Well, it makes us feel pretty good. If you're up in the Northeast, feel pretty crummy. And if you're over on the West Coast from, well, pretty much all of Washington to Oregon, it's an achy, hurty kind of pain day. Hurty, is that a new word? Hurty. How am I doing on time? It's 2:40. All right, let's continue onward. We're going to update this real quick because it is at 13:10. That was when I earlier created it. And, well, they haven't updated it. So let's take a look at this. And I've changed the wind map around a little bit, showing how the wind is pulling up from the Gulf of America. Yesterday we had that little area over the nation's capital. It's kind of shifted up over Columbus, or it's not as windy. But most of the wind and moisture and energy content is coming out of the Gulf of America, straight up the Mississippi. It turns left at Chicago and then goes up. And then that's following the Rocky Mountains. Down in the south, deep south, down around Houston, the Louisiana corridor, that wind is going up and it is curving over to the west around Dallas, where it meets up with air from the Pacific. And most of the wind is being divided today mostly by the Rocky Mountains. Now, notice that coming down from Canada to the Rocky Mountains, we see a little bit of wind flow. And I want to point that out specifically because when we look at the fire map, this is the smoke and fire map, we see that is pulling smoke down from Canada, from their wildfires. And of course, we have our own wildfires to contend with. But it also shows that it extends back up to the northeast, going into Ontario. Now, we'll go over Reno here and see if we can get an idea of why they're code red. And I don't see, except for the one fire, maybe, I'm not sure of the topography, maybe Reno sits in a little bit of a valley there, so the smoke is sitting with the dust coming up and causing the code red day. So most of the smoke coming down to the lower 48 is from Canada, but it's being in that convection being pushed right back up in Ontario. And then all the fires to the southwest are pretty much being pushed out into the smoke is being pushed out into the Gulf of America. Now, this map comes to us from USA Today. It does also show fires. It shows the worst, or I guess the most intense, in red, but let's take a look at some other things here real quick. First off, this is the air quality brought to us from IQ Air. And as usual, we see pretty much from the equator up, well, that's where most of the pollutants are. And we can see over in Canada, where I was talking about that smoke being pushed down and then pulled back up into, and the pollutants coming into America today are still coming from Africa and the far northern tip of South America, Venezuela, where it's being caught in that convection and being pushed up and over to the Rockies, where it's hitting Chicago and extending back to the east northeast. So believe it or not, some of that is dust and smoke and pollen. It's particulates mainly you can't see, but it's coming from the African continent. And let's take a look here. Also, I wanted to know, we'll look at it on the other one, but there's a little area of concern into the Pacific for some weather later in next week. We look and see, as we were talking about over in Australia, it's going to be a pretty windy day along the coast. Inland, not too bad, but if you have the smoke, you're going to see any of the particulates coming up and over into central Queensland, going back out to the northwest, but it's not going to be that intense. If you're down in Tasmania, it looks as though you're pretty clean on air quality today. And we'll zoom out here a little bit, go back in. New Zealand, it's looking like you're having a pretty good day, except for maybe in the northeast section of New Zealand up in there. So that is what the pollutants look like currently. If you look in the Middle East, between all the smoke and sand, it's a really dirty mess over there. Probably also got something to do with these countries popping off at each other, setting their own little bombs and explosions. So it's probably got something to do with that as well. So that those things get in our air. No, go away. Want this right here. That's what I want. There we go. All right. So now I'm going to show you, for the listeners, you can't see this, but it's a big, beautiful, round, perfect blue globe. And we can see the current wind flow. We can also change it to the waves and tides. But the wind flow, if you had a plasma screen TV and some chill music playing, this would be the perfect thing to be showing. And it shows us the winds that are being generated, and AI shows the intensity at which they are blowing. And we see up off the Alaskan coastline there, that little high is still spinning. But if you notice down to the south of that, there's a little break. They're concerned that that may come down next week and cause some type of activity. So keep an eye on that. There's also one that they're not really watching, but it's over in the northeast section of the Atlantic that has some potential to it. If we zoom in over here, they're just keeping an eye on that, but currently it's not really on their radar. And this little front down here, they're keeping an eye on how it forms as well. We know traditionally, once hurricane season starts, most of the intense storms come from the African continent. Let's zoom down into the lower portion of the country or the world, and we see Australia. We look at your wind, and pretty much on the northern section of your continent, the wind is going from the east to the west, and on the lower half it's pretty windy along the coastline, but otherwise, except maybe down there in Sydney, it's not that bad of a windy day for you. There doesn't appear to be anything down there tightly formed or that they've been watching for cyclonic events. I'll change this so that you can see what it would look like if we flattened it out, for those of you that would rather view it that way. And you can see what your wind is doing. Chris says, this globe is so perfectly round, Trump has got to have a hand in it somehow. See, round, perfect, beautiful blue globe. All right, you can check that out at earthnullschool.net and see it for yourself if you'd like. Take a quick look at the wildfires. Well, we talked about the Black Swamp. It is currently contained at 60%. We go over to the Appalachians. They're still working on containing B-Rock. It's 94, and Big Ridge is 88. I believe the others have been, nope, wait a minute. Table Rock is 97% contained. Going down to Miami, we see most of these are prescribed fires, but they have had one get out of control recently, but they're keeping an eye on it. Everything there is contained, and that is causing a lot of the smoke. Over into Texas, most of yours are prescribed fires. Out west, they're doing what they call forest health treatments. There are some fires that are not forest health treatment, but are pretty well contained. Back up into the Oregon coast, they call them prescribed fires. Klamath Falls is where that one is. And of course, we look into Northern California and see over there that those are prescribed fires. Most of the ones on the west side of the Mississippi are prescribed fires. There are a few. This one is in North Dakota. It's 100% contained. South Dakota, 100% contained on those as well. But most of the ones to the west, which would be the left side of Mississippi, are prescribed burns. Up in the northeast, most of those are prescribed burns. The only current ones that are really, quote, true wildfires are along the Appalachian Mountains, and that extends from the Georgia line pretty much all the way up to the Virginia line, but they've got a good grip on them. And then the other one is out to the Black Swamp area, and they're working on getting it contained pretty handily. So let's take a look at the NASA map on this. And the reason I like the NASA map is not only does it show the intensity These little red dots, for those of you that are listening to us only, allowing us to tickle your ears, it's a zoomed out vision of the United States where the larger flames are the wildfires, are prescribed burns on the east or west side of the country. But it also has several little dots throughout it that show what could potentially be a wildfire that the satellite has spotted or someone has reported. They just don't have enough data or they haven't put it out yet. Some of them could be as simple as a structure fire, like a house fire or something. So that is from the Forestry Service and NASA. All right, so let's go to the event list real quick because we've only got about 10 minutes left. And we see that beachgoers luckily escaped the stingray attack yesterday. We talked about that. And then, let's see here, 25 cases of African horse sickness have been confirmed in Namibia in Africa. All right. And then kilotons of dead salmon spark call for farm scrutiny. That's in Oceania, Australia. And in South Korea, measles cases have hit a high with outbreaks across Asia, Southeast Asia. All right. And Canada, provinces warn of measles exposures at a school. All right. And hepatitis A has been declared as an outbreak in LA County. We talked about that as probably shared needles. Thailand, they are confirming the 4th case of anthrax. In India, a seven-year-old, let me take that off screen. In India, a 7-year-old has died of rabies. If you remember, we talked about coyotes were attacking beachgoers on the coastline of the Atlantic region, New Jersey, I believe. Nor was it Florida. I don't know. Anyhow, there was concern of rabies there. Well, a 7-year-old has died of rabies despite being vaccinated in Asia, in India. All right. And a polio virus has been detected again in the sewage systems of Pakistan. Aren't those the two countries right there that are shooting things back and forth at each other? And the anthrax death toll stays at 1, but 90 others are still at risk in Thailand. And let's see, let's continue onward and get down to the Republic of China. Cyber attacks targeting Taiwan. There's a shocker, cyber attacks. We know that's coming. Israel, we know that the Houthis and Israel's are sending boom things back and forth at each other. And over in the Congo of Africa, refugees are facing a humanitarian emergency because of apparent mass displacement. Not sure what that's about. 9 injured in a shooting in Oklahoma City near a food hall. And in St. Lucia, brothers and neighbors killed each other in a deadly shooting. All right, well, that's not good. Laos has had gunfire near the border, leaving 2 soldiers dead. We talked about that. And I think that's all from there. Brenda says, hey, did you guys like the stream? If not, hit it. Well, I hope they like it. Hit that thumbs up button. So I'm not sure what she's talking about there. Pakistan, 7 soldiers were killed in a blast targeting an army vehicle. Well, like we said, they're sending off things at each other. And so I'd expect that to go. That pretty much would move down to the war category. Yeah, shocker. And we talked about the toxic algae bloom in Southern California. And Cyprus, series of explosions near a port has triggered a large fire overnight in Asia, Cyprus. And let's see, UK, a large agricultural fire in Withram. All right. In India, overnight, 7 injured at a fire in a cracker manufacturing plant in Odisha. All right. And we talked about the restaurant up in Boston with the fire. And let's see here. We've went over outdoor fires. We'll hit earthquakes real quick, but the most recent one was in the North Pacific Ocean. I don't know if any tsunami threats have been posted. Let's see. A volcano in Bolivia is showing signs. All right. Well, Kilauea Spur and Sitkin are all being monitored for an explosion. And we talked about flooding in the U.S. Well, this was overnight for a 45-mile stretch of Seward, Alaska, with a tsunami warning. Nothing must have come of that, so I'm sure we would have heard about it. Let's see, Pakistan, we talked about that. 6 minor children died of suffocation. Chris says, doesn't every explosion have some level of mystery involved with it? Otherwise, wouldn't it have been stopped from happening? That is correct. That is correct. Even a smoke explosion. Yes, that is correct. If you're a firefighter, a smoke explosion is also known as a backdraft. And you can tell when they're going to occur because when you come up on the scene of the structure, it doesn't have a lot of smoke, just a little light gray smoke, but you'll see puffs of smoke come out and come back in. And what that is the actual fire is breathing. In other words, it's lost all of its oxygen and it's gasping for air. So it's reaching out and pulling back in. And what happens a lot of times is when you bust open a roof, it causes, or not necessarily a roof alleviates it, but they're highly risky maneuvers to do, but it alleviates the heat. But if you open a door during that, you're going to cause a smoke explosion or bust a window. Busting windows are fun during those. Don't ask me. Let's skip over here into this because we saw, and I'm going to update this real quick. We saw that there was an earthquake in central Peru, western Turkey. These have been all several hours ago. I don't know if we were still live yesterday, but there was one in Virginia, actually, which I believe was in Richmond, Norfolk area. We zoom out, and these are the most recent earthquakes, not earth dates. Running low on time here. One in Nevada and one in New Mexico were the most recent over on the California coast. Malibu, Red Bluff, and I bet that's going to be Crescent City. Nope, Petrolia. All right, Alaska, up along those volcanic regions. Oh, we have one to the northwest in Katavik, Alaska. And the little islands down there, they have all had all kinds of activity. So they're looking for something to happen down there. Down in the Australian region, it looks like you're fairly safe. All right, so let's skip ahead here. Volcanoes we talked about. There is no real space weather to talk about. I don't think the aurora is going to be anything major for the next couple of days. It's going to stay pretty much where it normally does with the northern lights. We don't have a lot of time to go over the live interactive news map. Let's see what this one is. U.S. and Israel discussed establishment of a temporary American administration in Gaza. Okay, well, that's breaking news. I hadn't heard that. All right, well, I don't know how it makes me feel. We'll go over here to New England FireNet, and I'll refresh this because it looks like the last major fire was in Brooklyn, but it's under control. And this is in the northeast. There was one in Connecticut. Milwaukee had a shooting. Milwaukee shooting. This was at 7 this morning. A 16-year-old shot, and apparently the other guy didn't survive the shooting. All right, let's go. I wanted to get this because we were talking about this currently is all the planes over the United States. We'll take it out real quick and just look out and see if there's anything military-wise. I don't see any surveillance planes going up to the northeast. I will tell you that a lot of this down here with the Blackhawks is training. And when you get up a little bit to the further north, that is not training. They're on some kind of ice mission. Now, it was reported yesterday in the Washington, D.C. region that there were some ice operations ongoing. I cannot confirm nor deny that, but there were several reports of it. And there's also been several reports. There's the a P8. So that also may heighten this a little bit. Along the coastline, there is some concerns that there is a submarine that is extremely close to our coastline that they're concerned about. And that's what the P8 was out there doing, probably looking. And there was some talk that there might even be one down as far as into the Gulf of America. So C-17, this one is, it's making a flight up from Milwaukee down to Belize and going back home. I don't see any planes that have went to the right down here to the right of Cuba, and I don't see what appears to be any what would be fighter jet activity. And what would show the fighter jet activity is refuelers. It doesn't appear that there's any of them on board. A lot of times those are night operations. And this C-17 is Canadian. And if we look at its tracing, it's coming all the way back over from UK. So that one has no call sign, but it's a C-17 Globemaster. It's making some kind of secret squirrel mission that they're not talking about. And a lot of these are just moving and watching, but this Black Hawk activity supposedly has something to do with ice in the Chesapeake Valley all the way up to the New England coastline. Don't know if that's true or not, but that's the story. But at any rate, I'll leave us because we're running out of time. It's time for David Beckmeyer's show. We want to make sure that he gets off on time, but we can see this is the Bitdefender cyber threat map. Red is attacks, orange is infections, white is spam, and as usual, the United States is getting hammered. So everybody have a safe day. Brenda, I am not reporting anything that is not on mainstream news and anything that is not released on social media or that you can see through public sources. So I am not giving up any intelligence or any information. I want everybody to come over tonight. We will be live at 9 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be on Radio X, Rainbow Radio, and Yerg's Radio as well. But come over to YouTube and find us at the Para Are Normal Guys. Para Are Normal, 3 words, guys with a Z. And check us out. We have a sex therapist, and we're going to be talking about paranormal sex. Is it possible to have sex with a ghost? All right, I am going to turn everything back over to their prospective radio audiences, and we're going to let Yerg's Radio, Rainbow Radio. Well, I just totally lost everything. I don't know. Went crazy there for a second. We're going to turn everything back over to Yerg's Radio, Right Talk Radio, Rainbow Radio, Radio X, so that David Beckmeyer's show can go ahead and start its broadcast. Everybody have a great day. I will see you tonight at 9 o'clock. Chris says, I've never been accused of giving up anything intelligent, myself included, Chris. Everybody, great day. Please come over tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Bring your popcorn and get ready with those saucy questions for the family therapist, and we'll keep you in mind for anything else that comes up along the way. Everybody have a great day. I'll talk to you tonight. Sportcat is out of here. I'm going to push some button and go away. I will see you all tonight.